Mindset strategy. Hey, you two. Welcome to the party. We are going to get started shortly. You have any comments, questions, or thoughts?
I believe in new beginnings. No matter what they say, love lasts forever. Forever.
I can sing a little bit.
You know that song?
Hear ye, hear ye! You just get more when you bundle and save at Bob's Discount Furniture. Like when you bundle my Prim Sofa and Love Seat and save $179. Or save $200 when you bundle my Treasure Mattress and Adjustable Base. You can even get a whole home's worth of furniture. A sofa, a love seat, a 7-piece dining set, 4-piece bedroom set, and mattress for under...
Hear that?
Yes.
Because it's recorded,
YouTube is live. Y'all hear him. So, for those of you that are watching, this is my husband. And here, Mom,
been down and out, down for the count. The hardest round that life could bring. Stressing it, worrying, crying about every doggone thing. Back to the wall,
hello, welcome.
Steady falling, or so it seems. Life is hard, can leave a scar. That don't mean it's gotta stay that way. We can let it break us down, or we can turn it back around and only get stronger. If we don't walk away, stand up and fight this thing, go run from the pain. Reach your teeth and take a swing. Sometimes we get saved by the bell, but those times when it don't go so well, we gotta stand up and fight for it.
Go in. Welcome, everybody. Glad you guys are here. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome to those that are in the group. This is the opportunity for you to ask us some questions along the way. Get some insight that we've shared about some of the parts of our lives that we have encountered. So there's a question that was asked of us that we want to share some insight about today to get you support along the way. So if you have any comments, questions, or thoughts that you would like to ask us as we share this information, feel free to join in on the conversation, put your information there, and let us know how you're feeling along the way. So let's begin with the question that was asked. And as we go through sharing this insight, you guys let us know about what you want us to discuss a little later on. So, babe.
Yes.
The question that was asked for today is, how do you deal with knowing that the relationship that you have been in, you know you needed to leave, you know it was toxic, y'all are broken up for a reason, but you feel like you got to go back?
Okay. I'm going to share this from my opinion. If I was in a relationship and I wasn't valued, loved, trusted, respected, treated well, any of those things, and I really love myself and I value myself and who I am, I wouldn't go back. No matter how many feelings I may have had toward that individual, if I wasn't getting those things, which I think are basic common sense things, why would I return to somebody who didn't respect me, honor me, treasure? I can't do it. I wouldn't be fair to myself if I did that, in my opinion. I'm the type of person, I wear my heart on my sleeve. If I gave you my heart, and I'm giving you everything that I think I can give you, that I have in me, I love, honor, respect, all those things, and you can't give me that little bit in return, I don't think I need to go back to you. I think I need to value myself more and move forward. Even if it takes a while to ever find love again, if I ever find it again, I think I would be better off by myself as opposed to going back to something that didn't serve me a good purpose.
Well, I do understand why someone would ask that question, because for those of you that already know my story, this will be a repeat, but I went back. After a year and a half of being divorced, I let the ex back in. For two reasons. First, because we had children, and it seemed to me if I could find a way of putting our family back together so that my children can be whole, because he was the sun, moon, and stars for them. Everything that my children thought was just the greatest thing since sliced bread was their father. So to have him not present and have to deal with me according. Now, when you have a 5-year-old that makes you feel like something's wrong with you, it's an issue. So my 5-year-old at the time was like, we gotta stay with her. And I'm like, what is wrong with me?
He heard you sing. I mean, my fault. Okay.
Whatever. Anyway, when you are the disciplinarian parent, because in my first marriage, we split the roles where he was the fun dad, everything that was fun, enjoyable, and all the things he did. So to discipline and keep the household structured and in place, that was all me. So because I was the one that was responsible, right, exactly. Because I was the one that was responsible for making certain that the household was stable, kids don't want to deal with the discipline and the rules.
That they don't.
But it was needed. So I did what I had to do. And then in the aftermath of the chaos from that divorce, I had to figure out how to keep our home together and make sure that things were okay. Show some of the fun, but still balance it enough. And I was still in the middle of learning to navigate elements of that. And then when the ex showed back up, oh, fun had returned.
I have a comment on that.
Uh-huh.
I've heard people say that they kept or let them back or went back because of the children. Again, my opinion, children are smaller than we give them credit for. I don't believe that going back to that person is necessarily the best thing for the children. It sounds good, and trying to keep your family together is admirable. But I think kids, if you give them a chance, if you explain things to them thoroughly, you give them a chance to adapt, because you two were toxic. You don't, I'm not saying I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying if the two of you were toxic, don't you feel some of that's going to rub off on your kids or can affect your kids in a negative way? So just bringing that toxicity, say that word for me.
Toxicity.
That one. If you bring that back into your children's lives, how is that benefiting your children overall?
So here's the thing about that. Not everybody recognizes that that's a toxic behavior. For instance, I did not consider, now I knew, and a lot of us know when we in those relationships that this just is not working for me. But we don't consider the behavior that we walked into as toxic, because for a lot of us, it was learned behavior. It was familiar behavior. He was familiar to the chaos that was in my soul. I would have never considered that the chaotic situation that I was raised in, the chaotic chaos that I saw from other relationships was toxic, because it was a part of my environment.
Okay.
So he was familiar.
Okay, but I have another question. Mm-hmm. Whatever the reasons were, and if you don't want to say it, that's fine. But whatever the reasons were that made you separate from this guy, why would you bring that back upon yourself?
Because I thought he changed.
Oh.
So when you're in an environment where you know that it's not working and you have time to separate yourself from it, because going through the divorce, walking through the whole process, in my mind's eye, if we walk through an entire process to dissolve at that point a 14-year relationship, an 11-year marriage, then you coming back meant something in you changed, because I already knew something in me changed. There was a level of disrespect. I had made a decision I was no longer going to tolerate. And when he came back and I made the statement, hey, these are my new ground rules, he made a statement that he agreed with it. I thought it was true.
Okay, but you said he changed.
I thought he changed.
But what made you think that he changed before you let him back? What did he do? What did he say? What did he show you that would lead you to believe that he actually changed from those things that he was doing that led you to break up with him?
So that goes back to two elements. One, for some of us, and this is the part that I walked in, some people return to what's familiar because they're just lonely, and it's often easier to deal with the devil that you know than the one that you don't. I, on the other hand, didn't do much dating in the aftermath of my divorce. So me going back to him was me seeing what I thought I saw before, the piece that looked like it was good before. For some of us that are walking in that relationship, when the gap of separating occurs and then you choose to go back, you're looking for what you used to have. You're looking for the glimmer that made you whole. You're looking for the part that you thought was the good pieces. And if you can see a glimmer of it, you believe that after all of this, you know what was good. I remember what used to be good. And now we're back. We'll flesh out more of the good.
You know, I've got some more comments, right?
All right, here we go. That's what this is for.
And for you guys who've never seen me on before, never heard, because I've shared with Tanya before. I really don't care what men think about what my statements are, because my mother raised me a certain way. She raised me to respect women, to love women, to be respectful of everybody. And I often got into, I'm going to say, disagreements with guys that were friends of mine or associates all my life, because society has men think that they have to be dominant, women have to be submissive, and all these other things. And I didn't agree with that, because that's not the way my mother raised me. So I'm going to make this statement. I believe you got hoodwinked, because, and again, ladies, I'm going to keep it as clean as I can, but I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Back in the day, a guy would wait on average 30 days to get what he wanted from a lady. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Then at a certain point, I don't know if it's because you ladies got smarter, started valuing yourselves more, whatever it was, it went to 60 days. Then it went to 90 days. And then it may have gone to almost a year sometimes. But it wasn't necessarily because this guy was just so kind and patient and understanding, and he saw all these values in you. No, that joker knew what he wanted, but he was getting it elsewhere if you weren't giving it to him in the time frame that he wanted it. That's just the reality of it. And is that breaking man code? I don't care. This is about treating people right and taking care of people's hearts and respecting people. And I know that for a fact because I've heard guys say it. Man, this girl is so fine. She's nice. Da, 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 da. But I'm tired of waiting. So I got this other little shorty over here. I got this girl over here. I'm not with that. That's not being real. So basically, they are what you call a representative. They show you, ladies, what they want, what they feel you want to see and hear, and they give you exactly what you're telling them that you like to. Oh, if they give you a certain little line to do, oh, that's so lovely. Oh, she likes that. Okay, I'm gonna keep feeding her that. And they reeling you in, but they don't have any real, sincere commitment to you, and that's playing with your heart and your soul. And I have a problem with that, but there are a lot of people, when I've been duped, people have gotten me the same way. Females did it to me because I'm loyal, I'm consistent, and they took advantage of my kindness until I had enough. So that's another option there. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, but I don't think that thought came in to play for me because we were married. We have children. If you're coming back after all of this, my thought was you won't be playing on the side. You're really trying to restore this relationship, get our family back together. That was why I gave another opportunity. But here's the thing. When I decided to reset that clock and allow him to come back, I recognized some pieces, which is why I often share. Do an autopsy on your relationship. I did an autopsy on my marriage. When I did an autopsy on our marriage, there were things that I recognized. And I first recognized I was the catalyst for the pattern that reset us. See, there's a pattern that we often have. And for those of you that have my premier book, Red Alert, Is He the One? The Pocket Guide to Finding the Love of Your Life. This is chapter 4. And I wrote chapter 4 in there because of this very moment. I went back to the chaos. I went back to the stupidity, but I did not pay enough attention to the patterns. So I learned more, which is why you guys get more information than I had at that time, because I was still learning that curve. But I recognized I had a 6-month stopgap. You can do whatever you feel like you want, and I will analyze and try to support and try to be giving and try to be loving for 6 months. At the end of that 6 months, I'm reevaluating. And if it's not going well for me, there will be hell and damn.
Okay.
I'm going to keep my colorful adjectives to myself.
I got another thought. I got another thought. And I'm not saying this was you. I'm not saying this is anybody per se, but here's another one. You stop dealing with him for whatever your reasons were, okay? There are a lot of, and I'm gonna keep this fair. There are a lot of people, male and female, who somebody has set them aside because they no longer wanted to deal with their stuff. Okay. But here's the thing. He probably he could have been coming back to you because he finally realized how good he had them on that side. That happens a lot. You push the person to their brink, whether it's 6 months, 3 months, a year, whatever it is, and they get tired of your stuff. That's a nice word.
That's a good word.
and you cut them off. And now they be like, uh-oh, they got to reevaluate because they had it good. You took care of them, you loved them, you could have been the one always taking them out on the dates, but that's not there anymore. So they missed that. And now they want to come crawling back and try to do whatever. And if your heart is that soft and you let them back in, and they right back in there. But I'm gonna tell you this: people's true colors will eventually come out.
So that's another thing that I did not pay attention to. Some of you know that my grandmother told me that you had to watch a person in all seasons. And when she said that, that's not just summer, spring, winter, and fall. So metaphorically, people go through those elements in their relationships. The spring of your relationship is brand new. You are sort of cautious. Things are beginning to buzz. Some people just bypass through spring real quick that you don't even recognize that it's there because you get hot and heavy in summer. Summertime is fun. Summertime is where you were sharing the 30-day pass. They sort of get in there quick. My summers and springs last long time. So it ain't no easy quick. So maybe that's why the 90-day journey came. I'm not sure what to say
so
about that. So
you were the catalyst for that one, huh? Okay.
I guess I was, because what I will not do, because my grandmama said, if you have sex with somebody, you are sharing your soul. I don't want to share my food. So I'm not
That's
sharing my soul.
You definitely don't want to share that food.
So in the summertime of your moments, that's when things are really all steamy. You have the most fun. And when he came back, I was remembering the summer moments of our relationship. But we also have the fall where you know that there's a little bit of chaos that's showing. That's where a lot of the red flags are showing up. And a lot of people don't want to pay attention to the red flags in your relationships. There's something that he did before you got together, or she did beforehand, because the all being cute, she wasn't always all cute to you. Some parts of her was like, why is she doing that? It's getting on my nerves. But she was cute enough for you to say, I'm going to let it slide. He was cute enough for you to say, I'll work on that later. Stop creating projects, but that's a different conversation. Anyway, it's in the wintertime that we decide we're done. So I did an autopsy on my marriage to see how many spring sessions did I have, because I learned that I had a 6-month clock that I kept restarting. How many summertime moments did we have? If my marriage was more spring than fall and winter, I was going to try. And when I did my autopsy, I discovered I had about an even balance, but I did not know then that that occurred because of my personal pattern. Who you are at the core of your being shows up everywhere you go. And if you are not clear about how you're showing up, you are being a catalyst in the relationships, in the experiences, in the environments that you are experiencing. And I hadn't yet learned that when I let him come back.
You know, I mentioned this in the very beginning, but I'm going to say it again. Maybe we go a little deeper.
Okay.
I believe sometimes, I'm going to speak to the ladies. I feel that you all don't really know your true value and how beautiful you are inside and out. And therefore, you're dependent on someone else to validate you, to let you know that you're special, that you know that you're beautiful, that you're lovable. And when you separate whether they left or you left them because they let you down, you're like, you're lost. It's like, I need that validation. I need to know that I'm beautiful. Instead of looking in your mirror and realizing how beautiful you are. No, you're not going to be beautiful to everybody, because we have our own taste or whatever, you know, and I made that mistake. You know, when people get married, they have that phrase, God didn't put all us together. I'm gonna be honest with you. I did that myself. I looked at it, I saw it, it looked good to me. I said, I want that one right there. I had no idea about the representative. I had no idea that this person could switch up. I had no idea about a lot of stuff, but I experienced it later. And I did it again. Until I got tired of that. I got tired of being taken advantage of, not being appreciated, you know, because I was so consistent in my actions. People started looking at clocks, and there's no way I could ever sway 1 second, 1 degree away from my norm, because I set that standard. So I can no longer be human. I had to be a robot. That wasn't working for me. So yeah, you know, you got one on this shoulder, one on this shoulder. The little devilish one on this shoulder, he was like, hey, hang out a little long anyway. Just sit out in your car, sit around the corner. Just break that pattern of being directly on time all the time. It drove her crazy because she was driving me crazy, clocking my time. And I was always consistent, always did things.
So here's the thing I want to address with that one. We have patterns that show up in our behavior because it makes it easy for us to start doing some things. If you have a pattern that was a catalyst in certain elements in your relationship, that's part of your autopsy. I did not recognize that my patterns was what was familiar. So here's the thing that I learned. Now, let y'all know. That first marriage, I got divorced over 21 years ago. Eric and I have been together. It'll be 15 years in January.
It'll be 15 years on your birthday.
15 years, y'all. Anyway, going through that process, I did not pay enough attention to the fact that what he wanted, and I learned later, because when I let him back, y'all gonna have some conversations. Because if you decide you're gonna rekindle a relationship, have some conversations. I am wired. The developer in me wants to have a question. The developer in me is trying to see what we're doing with this process. The developer in me, and for those of you that don't follow what I look at and talk about on a regular basis, the developer may not be making sense to you. I encourage you, go back and look at some other things on this channel if you're watching me on YouTube, because I explain that all together. It's a whole separate conversation. But I needed to get clear. How are we going to do things moving forward? What's the next process? Because what we cannot keep doing is the chaos that we did before, because I knew I didn't want to walk through that. But I didn't know my pattern. And what I also did not know, to get to what you were saying, I was insecure. Now, this is the thing that did not dawn on me with that insecurity. I had walked through in my strong woman mode. I had overcome the elements of being in corporate America, standing up for myself. So I just knew I had enough self-confidence to stand, because I had to fight on a regular basis to be heard, to be seen on my job. I had to do that in other areas of my life. So in my relationship with him, I did not recognize how much I shrunk back, how much I acquiesced, how much I chose to do things counterintuitive to the things that I wanted in myself and in my world. I became insecure in that marriage because I no longer spoke up for me. So I lost elements of my identity. And when he came back, I tied parts of my identity to what I did for him, to what I supported in that marriage. So Tanya got lost.
Let me share this. Before Tanya and I got married, because she had been divorced, we were friends. I mentored Tanya in business. Then we became spiritual buddies. And then ultimately we became best friends, because we spent a lot of time together in business with me, helping to train her, and then us sharing, our spiritual lives and enhancing each other that way. So I knew her, and he was still around. He was still scratching on the door, trying to get back. And as her friend, because it hadn't got to that point yet, I shared with Tanya some things about how males think and et cetera, et cetera. And just he was a joker. He was very jealous, because he was jealous that I was her friend, because I was doing things as a friend would do for her. No sense to me. And he was going crazy, and he wasn't even her man, but he was losing his mind because somebody else was giving Tanya attention, and he drove him crazy. I stayed single for a long time in the aftermath of my divorce, y'all. And that, let me pause there, because here's something else for those individuals that may be and I'm not certain who really asked this question, but for the person that asked this question, wanting to know, why do I feel like I want to go back? I know it was toxic. I know it wasn't good, but I still feel like I want to go back to that relationship. Take some time on your own. One of the reasons that I had to be honest with Tanya, and this is the thing, if you're not honest with nobody else in the world, be honest with you. Please. Another one of the reasons why I let him back is because I had never really been on my own. At 32 years old, I got divorced. I had never been by myself. 32 years. There was always some other adult or some person with me. I'm not counting my children in that process, but I had never been by myself. My grandmother raised me, for those of you that know my story. After my grandmother, I had my college friends renting rooms out of the house that I was living in. And then I got married at 21. So he was my whole adult life. I was by myself. And I didn't like that part, because I didn't know how to be by myself. So I let the chaos back in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we touched on a little bit of that last time we were on, and I was saying that we were talking about being lonely, and I was like, I didn't know what that meant as far as that, because I've never been lonely. I've been by myself, but I was never lonely because my self-esteem, it got to the point where I love me. I can be by myself all day. Now I miss her, but I can be by myself all day long and be perfectly fine because I grew to that point because there were and it's probably because, and I didn't think about this before, because of the way I've been treated before when people didn't honor me and all of that kind of thing, I felt like I was alone, back then. And so I developed this strength within myself that, hey, I'm gonna be okay with me. I love me. When I look in the mirror, I like what I see. All of this, but it's me. So I had to learn to love me. And I think some people have to learn to love themselves better.
That part.
Sometimes, like you just shared, Tanya, you took a step back. You pulled back from who you were. You lost yourself, if you will, in that relationship. And sometimes we do that in trying to make the other person feel special.
And that is how I lost me. So here's the thing I want to ask. So to get to a solution. So if you find yourself in a situation that's similar to the person that asked the question, how do I stop myself from going back? Take some time to analyze. When I talked about doing an autopsy in that relationship, when you analyze what happened in that relationship and you see how it affected you personally, you'll start setting some boundaries in place that will be better supportive. The second strategy I would give you to support, spend some time by yourself. Some of us return like I did because I was by myself and I had not yet been alone. And being alone and being lonely are two totally different things. You do not have to be lonely because you are alone. Being alone means you don't mind doing things by yourself. I learned to go on dates with just Tanya. Those of you that have seen the podcast Red Alert Diaries, you've seen some of those episodes where I share about dating, being single is fun. Now, I enjoyed it finally because I was in that journey for 6 years. So it took me some time to grow into enjoying my singleness. But it was in my single moments that I discovered more of me. It was in my single moments that I grew a little bit better. It was in my single moments that I solidified my self-esteem. And when Tanya discovered Tanya, all of my glory and my story, that gave me the chance to attract somebody that was of a caliber that I needed for my future, that would help me enhance. He was complimentary to my being, which makes it easier for me to do what I do.
Stop it.
So any strategies you want to share for someone that's walking through that journey?
I'm just real heavy on right now, people learning to love themselves more. Yeah. It's so important because the stronger your love is for yourself, the less likely it is for somebody to abuse who you are, your feelings, and all of that kind of stuff, because you are so determined that that you're loved. That you're worthy of love, that you're not going to let anybody interrupt that. You're not going to let anybody take you out of who God made you to be, and it takes time to get to that level. You've been hurt, take some time to heal, find out who you are. Looking at me, and Tanya has this thing she does, ladies, especially, where she would tell you to give yourself 100 affirmations, positive affirmations about who you are. And I coach. And I tell my kids, because I don't think they're gonna do more than 10, to look in the mirror and recite 10 positive affirmations every night before they go to bed, and then again in the morning when they wake up. I promise you, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to look in the mirror and tell yourself a lot of positive things about yourself and you not smile. I don't think it's possible.
When you decide to take the opportunity to write a list of your attributes, when somebody shows up, because one of the things that the ex did was try to make me believe that there was something wrong with me. And so I went through and I said 100 for a reason, because most of the time you can come up with 2 or 3 without too much of a problem. Coming up with 10 or 20, you can ask somebody for some help. And as you make your way through to 100 great things about you, it's going to take you pressing through. It's going to take you struggling through some of those things to write those down. And if you take the time to go through and write down 100 things about you, and somebody comes up to you and says, you not what, you will fight them to tell them who you are, how you show up. You're not going to let them just slide by telling you any old kind of thing about yourself. Love you. When you love you as much as you choose to love somebody else, you will live the life that you desire. Because that confidence, oh, that confidence will turn into something else that you can start that will fuel you to make your personal and professional world a better place. And in a day and age where we have a lot of people that are being put in positions where society is trying to make you feel like the skills that you have and what you bring to the table is not enough, when you go through and you know that you are more than enough, you'll take that on as a challenge. Oh, you don't think I'm enough? Watch me, because I am. That's the strategy that will get you to the position where you won't go back to chaos, stupidity, or the drama that a lot of us in our past, and some of us maybe in our present, are dealing with.
I agree. Can we pass the plate?
See.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, this is Reset Strategies, y'all. We give you opportunity to ask your questions. So put your comments here so that we can address any other things that are being asked. And for those of you that are watching, I'm checking y'all out on YouTube. Put your comments there because we are about to wrap this up. Any final comments and questions or thoughts? Because I'm going to go into a next level note.
I just appreciate the opportunity to share, and that's what it's about. And to those who have been vulnerable enough to share their hurt and their questions, I appreciate you, because it's not always easy. We're not perfect, but we have a ministry of trying to help others. And I think that's what it's all about. We all can make mistakes in life, but as I tell my kids with athletics, and I do mental training with the kids, so it doesn't matter what sport it is, unless you're okay with failing, you'll never be successful. It's all in how you look at failure. What perspective do you have? To be successful, you have to climb. In order to climb, you're going to misstep every once in a while. So failure is a part of the process. So if you've looked at your relationship as a failure, hey, you're on your way to the top. You're on your way to something good, because you got to have some of those sometimes. And never look for perfection. Strive for excellence. And when you're striving for excellence, you have moments of greatness.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
So here's my next level note. For those of you that are just getting the opportunity to get familiar with the next level note, it's based off of principles and precepts that have helped me on the journey to be better, to live my life in a manner that supports me moving forward. So I'm reminded of a story of a young man. He was the youngest out of his father's kids. His father had 8 children. In this journey of him being the youngest, he was the one that was told and bossed around by his older siblings, sent out to go do the little chores that nobody else wanted to do. Because, yeah, that's what you do with your younger kid. Anyway, when you are walking into a position where your family is discounting you by sending you off to do little things that nobody else wants to do, it could sometimes make you feel some type of way. But this young man made a decision. He decided that I will do what is asked of me to the best of my ability, no matter what is asked. And he put his skills and his mindset into just operating in excellence, no matter the task. Because he did that, one day, there was a man that came into this town. And when he came to the town, and everybody knew that when this man was coming, he was looking for somebody that was going to be the next CEO of this major company. You know, the type of business that everybody wants to be a part of. You may have an opportunity to have an internship there if you're lucky. But if you got inside of that organization, you were running things. You will become the top dog. Everybody will know your name. This is the place that gave everybody the thought process to have their claim to fame. Well, when this man showed up, he went straight to this young man's father's house. And when he got there, he asked the young man's father, I have come because I have been told that the next person that will run this company is in your home. And the father all proud because everybody was thinking and hoping, well, who's he going to go to? Because they already did whatever analysis they were doing to discover that this is the place that we need to be, to have the next person that will be sitting on top of everything. So the father called his oldest, just thinking, because his oldest son, he was a type, the type that looks like he was born and bred for leadership. He had the look, he had the style, he had the pizzazz. And the man said, nope, that ain't him. So they went back and they said, okay, here's my next son. And he looked at the next son. And the second born child looked like he was still regal because the father had some oomph with him. He was a good looking man. So he had good looking kids. So the thought was, well, if you don't want that one, here's the next one. And the old man looked, he was thinking, maybe that's a good pick, but nope, you got who's the next one? So he went along the lines, keep going, keep going, keep going, all the way through to the seventh son. And the man said, it ain't none of these. I was told that the person that I need to get to is in your household. Do you have any more children? And he said, well, yeah, the youngest one is out there in the backyard doing stuff. Well, the man said, can you ask him to come in and we will wait? So everybody that's there, his older brothers, they had been standing up to have the conversation with this man that came to their home. And so now he didn't tell any of them when he told them that you are not the one to sit down. So now all seven brothers are standing. The father goes and gets his youngest son. So when this young man comes in from the backyard, he walks into the house, sees his seven older brothers standing along the line, see his father standing there as well. And the man that was coming in that he knew, because everybody in the town knew who this man was coming, and he saw all of them standing when he arrived. And the minute this young man walked into the door, the man said, that's him. And he gave him the initial contract to come and start working at this new at the organization that was making certain that anybody that got there, they got their claim to fame. But he let him know that you will be called when it is time. So even though the young man was presented in front of his family to be the one that was going to be next in charge, still wasn't time. That story reminds me that there will be moments that you have a future that will give you greater, a future for a lot of us that we are looking for, a future for a lot of us that we want to have, but you gotta wait for it. So while this young man waited for it, he went on back outside because his daddy was like, well, since you ain't leaving the house now to go do this brand job, go back outside and do what you were told to do earlier. So he did what he was asked to do. Years later, this young man was called into the company. He did basic stuff. Now you would think, having heard all the conversations about how hard it was to get inside of this organization, that this young man, when he was called, he would be in large in charge, doing something that's you think is important. No, he was the one that was running the mail cart back and forth for everybody, still doing little odds and ends, just like he was doing odds and ends in his daddy's backyard. So you're in the position, but you're still not leading like you thought. Sometimes you'll be in a position where you know that you have the skills, that you know that you can accomplish the goal that is being asked of you, yet you are still not asked to do that thing. But because this young man already had come from his personal environment now into his professional environment, he came with the same attitude. How you show up personally is often called upon professionally, but we don't often think about how to interchange those elements. Well, because this young man had made a decision early on that he would interchange those elements, when it came time for him to actually lead, he had to remember who he was. Because when you get into a higher elevation, the thing that people want, the place that people are looking for the claim to fame, it will require more of you than you think. And there'll be a piece of you that you'll have to make a decision. Either I will function under integrity like I desired, or I will continue to do what it looks like everybody else is doing for fame. But because he chose to honor himself, as time went on, his world got a lot better. For those of you that may be wondering, will things get better? It will. And when it gets better, you may have something that falls apart, like my past marriage fell apart. It did not go like I planned, but I forgot who I was. But because this young man continued, even when things didn't go as well, and it didn't happen like he wanted, he still remembered who he was. He kept getting elevated, and his life kept getting restored. That story, I would love for you to be reminded, like it was a reminder to me, When life doesn't go the way that you plan, when you know who you are at the core of your being, when you stand in the middle of your integrity, when you functioned despite what the world says and your skill set and what you know to be true, when things don't go so well, stand. Because the leader in you is still there. The strength that you have is still there. It may be challenged because you need to grow, but you, the core of who you are, is still there. And so for today, we're hoping that the insight that we have shared to support you on the journey gives you some support. And if you find that any of this is resonating with you, then it's time to reset. So like, comment, and share this with others. And leave your comments below. For those of you, leave it in the chat. For those of you that be watching us online, go back and leave your comments, because I go back and I look at those at later points as well. So that's what we wanted to share with you, hoping that it supports you on the journey. And thank you so much for letting us have this time.
Take care, everyone.
All right.